minutes late.
Yeah, that's kind of on time.
Well, kind of on time. No, our rule is 5 minutes early or 5 minutes late is on time.
I mean, I kind of do like an 8-minute rule.
8 minutes? You're pushing it now.
Well,
That's
whatever.
ridiculous.
Whatever.
I do not align with that. Anyway, welcome to Basic Ass Bitches.
Happy Sunday.
We are your sister bitch hosts, Kira and Sammy.
Hello.
Hello. And today we're talking about a topic that is actually really exciting for me because it's something that I really, really stand behind, which is the topic of really loving your career or your job. And we have a fantastic guest today. Her name is Emily Moyer, who is a career and executive coach, and she'll be joining us in just a little bit. And as always, Sammy and I are gonna take this topic and sort of dive into it with our own life experiences. And, I'll be talking about nervous system stuff, and Sammy will be talking about student loan debt because she knows quite a bit about student loan debt, as most of us do, and the student loan debt that we take out in order to love the careers and the jobs that we're in.
Yes, definitely.
So, but how are you, Sammy? How are you today? Let's get related.
Let's get related first, Kira. I'm doing well. I'm a little tired today. Lost an hour of sleep last night due to daylight savings.
Oh, it was daylight savings?
Yeah. You passed out early, so.
Did I pass out early?
Yeah.
What time did I pass out?
Well, I got home at midnight, and Mike had told me that you had already passed out on the couch, and he got you upstairs.
Oh.
So
regular Saturday night. I love how this show, our original idea was we're gonna have mimosas, and I'm like, oh, I can't drink
coffee
every
coffee
time, or sparkling water, one of the two.
Right?
I just cannot drink during our show because I'm always a little drunk still from the night before.
Yeah,
which is what's going on right now.
I don't drink, but the last 3 nights in a row, I've gotten less sleep than I usually do. So I'm a little bit tired.
You party animal.
I know, right?
Crazy.
I went to bed at midnight last night, which i.e. is 1 a.m. due to daylight savings.
Yeah.
Late for me, very late.
So have you ever had a job or a career path that you've dreaded?
Does grad school count?
Well, I mean, I guess in a way it could count, but I almost feel like a job or a career it could be a little more stressful just because there's no end in sight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So probably, I mean, I really loved working at Best Buy. I hated working at Maid-Rite. Serving was not my jam.
Oh, see, I loved working at Maid-Rite.
I know.
So Sammy and I both worked at a 50s diner in Iowa coming up. Sammy's 7 years younger than me, so it was at different times. But I was definitely beloved, and Sammy definitely wasn't.
No, I got in trouble for talking to my customers too much.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I feel like the manager there got a little stingier.
You were also an asshole teenager, though.
That's true. I was an asshole.
So there's that.
Am an asshole.
I know a job that you dreaded when you started at
Revolution.
Revolution.
Oh, yeah,
I didn't want to
Revolution.
throw him under the bus like that.
Throw him under the bus. Whatever. Yeah. I mean, the ownership there has certainly changed since then. I don't think it's probably any better though. But yeah, working in a mental health practice that is not run by a mental health professional, run by a business person, it's there is a very delicate way to mix mental health and business where the client is still taken care of and the client is still the priority and their best interest is at heart, but I did not see it there. Right. So
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember so much of just the mental space that you were in, and it was a really big impact on you mentally.
Oh yeah,
physically,
dude, fucking
reactionarily. Is that a word?
Yeah. Well, when I totaled my car on the way,
that's what I
Yeah. So I was running late to I wasn't even running late. The expectation was if I wasn't 10 minutes early to every session, I was going to be fired. And that happened because when I first started there, I didn't have training on how to use the schedule. I was expected to expand my schedule from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., even though the original way that they gave it to me was 8 a.m. to something. Mm-hmm. So I missed a 7 a.m. session.
Yeah.
Because I had no training on how to do this. And it was told to me that if I missed another session or was later than 10 minutes early, I was going to be fired. So I was like in a panic on my way to work one day and ended up totaling my car out of panic.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a little bit of what I wanted to talk about today inside of this topic is how being in a state of like dread around your job, or just like even just not loving it, right, can impact your well-being on a level that you cannot control, and that is the level of your nervous system.
Right.
And specifically the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of our nervous system that is body to brain instead of brain to body. And that the autonomic nervous system, that feedback nervous system, is actually 256 times faster than brain to body.
Oh, boy.
Feed forward.
So we don't even know what's going on.
So we have no idea what is going on. And so the totaling of your car, you can put that on all kinds of like things. It was raining, so it was slick outside.
And my car was fucking old as shit.
Right. And, arguably that panic state that you were in was the reason you totaled your car.
Right.
And, it's just interesting to see how the nervous system plays a massive role in what happens to us in our lives. So much so that it can impact your wellness. So people who are under a lot of chronic stress, we know, get sick.
Yeah, well, I mean, look at me in grad school and at Revolution, and that was when I started breaking out in those hives. You remember that day I was at yours and Adam's place, and you walked in on me in the bathroom, and I just
had your pants down?
I had my pants down, and I was just scratching at my legs, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong.
And I looked at you and I was like, those are hives.
Those are hives. You should see an allergist.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
turns out I'm not allergic to anything. I just have a very overactive immune system.
yeah, so that's actually one of my stress reactions as well, as I break out in hives. Shocker.
What?
We're related. So I mean, so much so that like, if you, I don't know, have you read any Joe Dispenza?
Nope.
He talks about the nervous system a lot. And he ran some studies actually where he had folks, I think it was meditating for a total of 30 minutes a day, but they broke it down in like.
Oh, you've told me about this.
Yeah. And their immune system actually, I can't remember scientifically what the actual like protein is that boosts the immune system, but it had actually increased that protein by like 4 times after 4 days.
Wow.
4 days of meditating, becoming embodied, calming oneself. That's the impact. That's the impact of actually stopping, listening, and calming oneself.
So you're saying I need to meditate 30 minutes a day?
You could. The modality that I practice inside of my work is called clinical cymatics. And what that basically is an opportunity for people to stop. And we use movement to actually get connected, the mind to the muscles, because when we are in a state of dread nonstop, and you imagine like having a job. I had a job. I did door-to-door sales, and I dreaded it. I dreaded it every day. And you imagine that state of contraction, right? Because our nervous system doesn't actually know that we're not in danger, and that's the really like messed up part about it all, right?
Yeah.
Is like you have a reaction to something, like it's Sunday night and you have to start work again in the morning, and you hate, like, let's say you hate your boss. Maybe your boss is a terror, and you're dreading it. Your nervous system starts to react, right? So your heartbeat starts to increase. Maybe your breathing starts to increase.
As if you're in a space of physical threat.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And what we got to get is that our bodies don't actually know the difference between just regular chronic everyday stress, low level underlying stress, and actually being in danger. So if you're a person who is dreading or hating your daily activity, your nervous system is going to be on alert nonstop, and you have no idea what that's actually causing in your body. So, a constant state of contraction, well, what does that do, right? Well, that limits your breathing. And then what does that do? Well, breath is the key to life, you know, and without breath, nothing actually works in our bodies.
Right.
You know, and so.
Yeah, I mean, have you ever been low on oxygen? It's terrible.
Have I been? I have been low on oxygen.
Oh, it's such a panic.
But I actually don't really remember it because it was when I had a seizure. Yeah, so there was that.
I remember that.
Yes, you were there.
I remember that.
And that was very scary. And then I had $17,000 worth of medical debt
Yay!
after that.
Yay, debt.
Yay! And we're going to actually be talking about debt, and you know, but I wanted to start with the nervous system because I just really want people to get real. Whoops, sorry. I just really wanted people to get real with how real this is, you know, this student loan debt, medical debt, you know, just in general, what we as Americans are dealing with inside of our society, but then also having to go to a job every single day that you fear and that you dread, and the impact that it has on us day to day that we are not aware of. It was one of the reasons why, God, I always do this. I'm sorry, Sammy. It's one of the reasons I really liked Andrew Yang as a candidate. Because this is...
We always
bring it back to politics. I'm so sorry.
I'm wearing a political pin today that you gave me.
I gave her.
Morning.
It says Bernie fucking Sanders. See? It
does. Bernie fucking Sanders.
I'm pumped that we're going to win. Anyway.
I'm not even originally a Bernie fan.
I know you're not.
It's
you
just
are now,
Elizabeth
though.
Warren dropped out, and I'm like, well.
Booyah. Come on over. Come on over.
Okay, I'm feeling the burn.
Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? One of the reasons I really liked Andrew Yang, because this is the kind of stuff that he talked about with his universal basic income.
Yeah.
You know, when you would watch an interview with him, he would talk about the importance of something like a UBI, because it gives people a real opportunity to explore and do what they love, you know, instead of always being in a space of like having to make the bills, having to get food on the table. How am I going to pay for medical debt? How am I going to, you know, and it was a real opportunity to give people a chance to not live in that chronic state of dread and fear.
Well, and like, yes, you might hate your job or your boss or the day-to-day task, but then there's also like the value of your position, because if you're not making a lot of money and, you know, and say you're working in a job where you make $35,000 a year, but you had to take on $30,000, $30,000 to $60,000 worth of debt in order to even get into that job.
That sounds familiar. Anyway.
Then there's going to be that much more stress. Like, okay, I maybe you do like your job, but if you're not making any money doing it, then, you know, how much value is actually there?
Yeah, I mean, I think about my own lot, right? So I went to school for television radio production, and I used that, arguably I still use that degree very actively.
You're on a show right now.
I'm on a show right now. Well, plus I make videos for my business and stuff, and I did do a lot of editing at the beginning of our business because we needed to promote ourselves, and we didn't have clients.
It's a valuable skill to have.
So I used that skill. But, you know, I've never in my business broken $30,000 a year.
Yeah.
You know, in earnings. Last year I made $25,000, and I'm 4 months away from paying off my student loan debt, and I graduated in 2004.
Yeah.
You know, and so and for a long time I was paying as much in student loan debt as I was paying in rent.
Yeah, I'm never going to pay off my student loan debt, but we'll get to that.
We're going to get to that. But I remember before, so the reason I'm able to live the lavish lifestyle I live now is I got married.
You married a government worker.
I married someone who works for the federal government, which I mean, it was really helpful to have to you know, marry into that lifestyle. And I mean, the amount of stress I had every single day and the amount of hours I worked because I thought that working more hours was going to make me more money, which was just absolutely not true.
No, that's not true.
I work far fewer hours now, and I actually make more money now.
Yeah, working less makes you more.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a thing.
But that level of stress, I mean, it really created a lot of like shitstorms.
Yeah.
in my life.
Totally.
You know, including totaling my car. You know, including like heavy amounts of like drinking and drug doing, which I mean I still enjoy from time to time.
But not as frequently as what you probably felt you needed at the time when you're, you know, when you're trapped inside of this frantic pace of not making money and having lots of debt and being on your own.
Well, and then I imagine, I look back at myself, and I'm grateful that I went through that in my 20s. I'm grateful, you know, when I was young, right? I'm grateful that I work in fitness and in like in an industry where taking care of your body is really important, because had I not had that as, I mean, it was a little bit of a life hack, right? Had I not had that, I mean, my doctor, who's like, when I finally got health insurance when I got married, and I went and saw a doctor for the first time, you know, that wasn't at Planned Parenthood. So, he was asking me all kinds of questions, and he's like, okay, I think that you might have asthma. I think that you have general anxiety disorder. I think that you're allergic to a bunch of things. And I'm like,
You might have epilepsy too.
like, none of this is true, right? And I said to him, I go, I don't have asthma. I could run 5 miles right now, and I don't even run. And he goes, yeah, because you work in fitness. Like, you're lucky that you work in fitness, because all of these ailments haven't come up as a serious issue.
Yeah.
You know, and I think about the people who don't have that life hack. And who don't have the life hack of like getting married to someone who makes 3 times as much.
Or aren't white.
Or aren't white. That's a super big life hack.
Super big life hack.
That I didn't get to choose, but you know, it's certainly a privilege. And God, yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's going to be another topic. Is white privilege one of these times, because I have so much to say about that.
I feel like we bring it up almost every episode somehow.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of it right here.
There's a lot of it right here.
So, so I'm grateful for that, and I do think about the sickness of our society due to all of these issues. And, you know.
I mean, yes, the sickness of our society due to all of these issues, hating work, not making enough money, having $1.5 trillion worth of student loan debt as a collective. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. $1.5 trillion of student loan debt.
Bernie Sanders 2020. Not saying anything, just saying.
Not saying anything, just saying. Yeah, I mean, so when I was doing some research, I found that, you know, the average student loan debt for Americans is $30,000. And take into consideration that a lot of Americans don't have student loan debt, whether it be because their parents helped pay for them to go to college, or they didn't go to college, or maybe they got some scholarships or a full ride due to a sport or something of that nature. You know, there are a lot of people who don't have student loan debt. So if the average is $30,000 per American, and there are many Americans that don't have student loan debt, then consider all those people that do have student loan debt are looking at more like 60 plus. $1,000 of student loan debt.
And I think I was somewhere in the camp of like 48,000 by the time I finished my 4-year degree. And then because of the GI Bill, I was able to go to my personal training school for free.
Yeah.
So that was also
so I wanted
a big help.
I wanted to talk about the cost of going to college, because so many so many jobs require it. I mean, half of jobs that make you $35,000 or more a year require a bachelor's degree at least. I mean, when I look at my own industry, the mental health industry, I mean, if you're working as a social worker or a mental health professional, most careers in the mental health industry are going to start you at anywhere from $24,000 to $36,000, and you require a master's degree to do that. So like, yeah, you're making shit money and have spent a lot. So
I mean, and that's also what we see in the teaching industry, right? Teachers who want to make a really big difference in the world, who want to educate our youth. Arguably, one of the most important jobs that we have are some of the lowest paying jobs and require some of the highest degrees.
Yeah. So I wanted to pull up, I have a little image here, average cost of college by degree type. If you could pull that up for me, Daniel, thank you. So we can see here, you may not be able to see this, or you may if you're watching us on a large screen, but a bachelor's degree at a public 4-year university, it says $8,230. I don't believe that for a minute. When I did my undergrad, I went in-state to the University of Iowa, so I'm from Iowa, and my room and board was covered because I was a resident assistant. So I lived in the dorms, I worked in the dorms, I was on call constantly. Part of those jobs that give you anxiety when you get woken up at 3 a.m. by the police because someone shat in the North Tower and it's your job to go pick it up, and you've got an exam at 8 a.m. It's a good time. My room and board was covered, but I think it was per year, per semester, I was paying $7,000 something for tuition and fees. So this bachelor's cost for a 4-year public school that says $8,230. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that's per semester.
Okay.
Because
that's what we know, right?
That's what we know. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It doesn't actually say in this article, but I will post it in the description.
Or someone else will.
Or someone else will. We'll figure it out.
We'll
figure it out. For a bachelor's, private nonprofit 4 years, $33,450. Master's degree, public, $8,670. Okay, again, I'm going to say that's per semester. Private 4-year, $29,960. I know I went to a private school for my master's degree, and I paid about $17,000 per semester for my education. Mm-hmm. And I was allowed to take up to $20,000 per semester, so I had an extra $3,000 that covered like my rent and whatnot, because I was also expected to work a full-time unpaid internship. So I was doing full-time grad school and a full-time internship. Mm-hmm. And because I went to a school that values social justice, I also had to do a social justice like community project.
What did you do for that?
I tutored high school students.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we also had to volunteer 10 to 20 hours a week and then do our internship 30 to 40 hours a week plus full-time grad school. So there was no time to work. I worked like 10 to 20 hours a week anyway. I was essentially working 120 hours a week and sleeping 4 hours a night for 2 years. She was working
for my company.
And then I broke out in hives and was scratching myself in my sister's bathroom. Yeah.
Fun times.
So, and then when we look at the doctoral degree, we're looking at $10,830 for public and $42,920 for private.
That's close to mine. I went to a private school.
Yeah.
For my 4-year degree.
Well, yeah, but we're looking at a doctoral, and I'm guessing that's per semester.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Because it's about on target for the master's area.
I keep forgetting that this is per semester, which is mind-blowing.
It could be per year. Honestly, it did not say in the article, but based on like my own experience.
Well, you went to University of Iowa.
I went to University of Iowa.
You were in-state.
I was public in-state.
Well, you also got the GI Bill to pay because
I also got the GI Bill.
Some people were asking if I'm a vet. No, our dad was career military.
Yep. Yeah, so we got the GI Bill.
Yes,
and that covered like $900 a month, which is nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
A stipend.
So how much is the University of Iowa from your recollection? I mean, you graduated in 2000. When did you graduate Iowa?
I graduated Iowa in 2011.
2011.
Yeah.
So it's been 9 years since you've graduated. And what was the tuition per semester at Iowa? Do you remember at all?
I don't know if it was $7,000 a year or $7,000 a semester, but I remember $7,000 something. And that was for in-state public school. And I remember the room and board was the same cost. I just got that covered because I was a resident assistant. So like I worked to pay a lot of that, and then the GI Bill helped as well. And I still came out with I think $20,000 in debt from that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Here I thought you got off scot-free.
Nope. I still paid for it.
I was super jealous when we got to use the GI Bill, and I had already gone to school, and I was like, damn it, I'm not going to get to use it. But then I ended up using it because I went back to school. So that was really a nice thing. And we see a lot of people going into the military. Our nephew is going into the military.
Yep. He's very resourceful. I'm very proud of him for joining the National Guard so that he can get school paid for.
Yeah. So that's why he's going to the military. But that brings me back again to our original conversation, like being in the military and the level of stress that is, right? And especially considering that we are in chronic state of war.
What?
Because we live in an imperialist nation. That's how that goes.
Yes.
So, it's like we dive into like these stress spaces. And as a nation, we see the sickness, that it's causing.
And something I'm real tired of hearing about from the older Americans is that that we don't have it as hard as we say we do.
Yeah.
Like these
Joe Biden says he
millennials.
has no empathy.
No, yeah, these millennials.
I have no empathy for these millennials.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to pull up the next image that I have, which demonstrates why Joe Biden has no fucking idea what he's talking about.
Yay!
Okay, so cost of college, 1977, 1978, is that first bar down there. We can see public. What are we looking at here? Public versus private. So 1977, 1978. Now I'm guessing this one is like per year or total tuition for 4 years.
Okay.
Because the low bar there, that light green for public, is 8,180. That high bar is 17,010. I'm guessing that's for the full degree. If we look on the other end of that scale, 2017, 2018, that low bar is 20,770, and the high bar is 46,950, which is closer to what your private education was.
That was closer to my private education.
So,
and that was my debt, and I got massive scholarships my junior and senior year from my sorority.
Yeah.
And so that helped quite a bit. Most of my debt is from my first 2 years of college.
Yeah, so 46,950 divided by 17. How many times greater is school cost now?
Dude, you're gonna ask me to do math right now. That's not gonna work.
3.5 times the cost. So since the 70s, the cost of school has tripled.
Yes. And income has not.
And income has not. Income has increased by like 1.5%?
If that.
If that.
I mean, with inflation.
With inflation, which
it's
is
no.
There's
no increase in income.
Yeah.
So we are getting screwed left and right, basically.
And I wanna, I wanna be aware of time and being able to invite our guest on. So I'm just gonna pull up this next image. Which is talk about nervous system reactions here. So this is
Get ready, everybody.
Yeah, this is my student loan debt. You're welcome.
You're
$233,000.
You're never gonna pay that
I'm
off.
never paying it off. So most of these are federal. The bottom two are private, which, fuck it. But the rest of those are federal, and you can see by the interest rates that the research that I was looking at debt.org said that, the highest interest rates for federal student loans is 7%, but that's bullshit because you can see there that I have some that are at 7.65%, thanks Trump. The interest rate on my student loans has increased 3 times since Trump became president.
What?
Yeah, 3 times since Trump became president, and I think in the total amount of time that I've had these loans before Trump became president, so I finished grad school in 2013, and I finished with $143,000. So my loans have actually increased because of the high percentage rates on them. Yeah, I think 3 times since, maybe 2 or 3 times between 2013 and 2016, and then since 2016, another 3 times.
Also, you could help people with chronic illness.
So essentially, I require this degree in order to do the job that I do.
Well, you had told me once, you're like, I just look at it like the fee that I pay to do the job that I do.
Yeah, so I pay a monthly cost.
And I think that's a little bit of what we'll be talking about when Emily comes on, because it's like we do essentially pay a fee in some of our careers to do our jobs because there are regulations around what we do.
Yeah, and
not
when you
me.
consider
There's no regulation around what I do, but
when you consider that, the average mental health professional in America makes about $45,000 a year, but then we're carrying around a $200,000 debt from having to get a master's degree in order to do that work. It's like the debt to income ratio is so high that we can't consolidate our loans, we can't get lower interest rates, we're stuck. There's nothing we can do about it other than be on an income-based repayment plan and hope that at some point it all gets forgiven.
Yeah.
Bernie 2020.
There we go. See, it all comes back to politics. That's why it keeps getting brought up. I want to do a shout out to some of the people in our chat room, and then I want to introduce our guest.
Yes, please.
So we have Heimdall's Gate on. Yo, yo. Brundy A. Levros is on. They're talking about taxation on Wall Street in order to pay for student loan debts, which is a large part of Bernie's plan. Also, Bernie's plan to make public higher education free.
That sounds great.
Which I think is a great idea. You know, when I went canvassing for Bernie Sanders in 2016, I remember.
It always comes back to this.
I know. I'm sorry. I really like Bernie Sanders.
I know.
When I went canvassing for him in 2016, I remember running into a Hillary supporter, and she was really pissed off because she was like, well, I paid for my college. Why should we have to like bear the load of, you know, other people's college?
Because you've jacked up our fucking prices so much and you're not paying us anymore.
You know, and it's interesting because like we're talking about how it's tripled, and Heimdall's Gate points out almost zero of that went to education. It's all bloated bureaucracy. One could argue because of government-backed non-dischargeable loans. Mm-hmm. So I don't know actually much about that at all, but it's really outrageous. And I saw a little a political cartoon of a train coming and having like killed and run over people tied to the track, you know, and this opportunity to change direction before another group of people get run over by the track. And they're like, well, they had to get run over by the train. So it's only fair that these people
the
do.
rest of the people also
What
have
an
to get run.
outrageous argument. Come on.
Yeah.
We're all going to be better off when all of us are better off.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to be able to like get a mortgage and buy a home. I'm a decently successful 30-year-old woman. I've started multiple businesses, and you know, I've been successful in my businesses, and one of them is a $500,000 company, and it's only been open for 3 years. I'm a successful person, but getting a mortgage to start a home, to buy a home, is like not really an option when you have $233,000 worth of student loan debt.
You just marry a federal employee. It works out well.
I already married an actor who also went to grad school and has another $200,000 in student loan
and
debt.
then Gray Walker Vet for Tulsi, who's one of our biggest fans, I will say. He says, LOL, I saw a mockumentary where the main guy met his girlfriend in a strip club where she worked making $100,000 a year to get a degree to qualify for a job making $40K.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is how it works. Man, I should have been a stripper. God damn it. All right, so anyway, let's
bring Emily on.
Okay, so Emily Eliza Moyer is a career strategist and executive coach. She teaches women how to make strategic, purpose-driven career and business plans so they can achieve their dreams and absolutely love their work. In her former life, she was the head of sales and marketing for a venture-backed travel startup called Moyer and spent 5 years working remotely from all over the world. That sounds amazing.
That does sound amazing.
Welcome,
Emily. Thank you for being with us.
So great to have you here. Thank you for taking our invitation to be on the show. So just for everybody to know, Emily and I met through our women's business networking group. And it has been a joy having you in our circle. And I just want to learn a little bit more about what you do for a living and your methodology around how you do it. So, you know, tell us how you work and what you do.
Awesome. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I'm a career strategist and executive coach. So my business now is really split into two
You can pull that
arms.
mic down a little bit for you. Yeah, there you go.
Great.
Like it's an ice cream cone.
An ice cream cone. Okay, and continue. Apologize for interrupting.
No, it's all good. So really, I have two buckets of clients. So my career strategy clients are clients who have really been successful in their businesses or in their careers. They've made money. They have, you know, gone to grad school, checked all the boxes, but they've found themselves at a certain point in their careers where they're just unhappy. They may be miserable and sort of be dreading getting up for work, but a lot of them are just feeling stuck. They're just feeling stagnant. They're not feeling like they're growing. They're not sure like what's next. And usually what that comes down to is they've sort of followed in the path that was laid out for them. And for the first time, they're really trying to figure out, well, what do I want? And how do I build a life that's really right for me? So that is one bucket of clients. The second bucket is actually small business owners. So actually mostly in the boutique fitness industry. There's a lot of really incredible people who have started businesses in the fitness industry who don't have a business background and don't have a sales and marketing background.
I don't know anyone like that.
So, what I actually do is help those business owners craft strategic business plans to really be able to scale their businesses. So they'll be at, $250K in revenue and they want to double that. And I help them actually build the plans and build the sales arms and really think about how they're aligning all of their strategy to the goals that they want to accomplish. So really what it all is helping people figure out how to build plans to help them love their work more and make whatever changes they need to make. So those are sort of the two buckets of clients I work with. My methodology.
I want to know.
So it's actually been really fun to hear your conversation because a lot of what I do is it's in alignment with a lot of what you guys have been talking about. So the simplest way I like to describe what I do is I blend Eastern philosophy, ancient wisdom, a lot of intuition with Western organizational structure and best practices that are used in consulting in some of the top leadership development organizations in the world. But I think what's, even outside of that, what I think is more interesting is there's a system that we are told how to operate within. You go to school, you take out debt. The only options to help people are these professions, right? Become a teacher, become a mental health professional, all of these things, right? The system is structured where you feel stuck. You feel like there's no other options, right?
Yeah.
Because it's really what your parents know. It's what your friends are doing. There's no other creative.
Yeah, it's just the dominant narrative,
Exactly.
It's the fish tank we live inside of.
Exactly. So one of my new favorite analogies is you can't see the label of the pickle jar from inside of the pickle jar.
Yes.
So we're inside it, right?
Yeah.
We can't actually see what's possible. And so really what my methodology is sort of cracking open the pickle jar and helping people get really creative about what's possible for their lives.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So it's all about really just saying anything's possible and how do we, one, allow you to get to a space where you can dream again. A lot of adults sort of hit this wall where they don't even allow themselves to have big dreams.
Yeah.
And dreams are truly, I think, at least for adults, it's our playground. That is where we get to have the most fun is actually going after our big dreams. So that's the first piece. And then it's usually we get caught up in the how, right? The impossibility of it all. And that's what I do is I help people sort of break that down into baby steps and really make it a reality. So yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, I mean, I consider when you're 17, 18 years old and you don't even know what career options are out there or available to you, and you're looking at college is the next natural step and what I've always been told I need to do, either college, trade, or military. In most of America, especially if you're living in a rural area of America, those are your options. And trying to see outside of that is...
It's interesting because I remember myself as a 17-year-old who was, having my mother help me take out debt for college. And I remember picking a private college instead of a public one. And the reasoning behind it was, and I'm not sure if this is outside or inside of the pickle jar at all, but I remember saying to myself, I'm not going to go to the University of Iowa because I'm just going to hang out with all my high school friends there. And the reason I chose a private school is because I wanted the network of the people who go to a private school. And so
which is also why I chose a private graduate school, because I had the public school education and I did hang out with my high school friends.
And you start to see how, on one hand, education's really important, but inside of that line of thinking, it's almost more of who you know.
Oh, yeah.
And so, in your line of work, how do you work around those sorts of barriers that look very real for people? I don't know the right people. I don't have the capital. I'm in all of this debt. How do you work around those realities?
A lot of it is really just getting creative and building a plan. A lot of what I see is, excuse me, what we think are actual barriers aren't always barriers, right? Like I love how you sort of said it's like it's a fee that I have to pay for my business, right? And I'm going to continue to grow my business, and I have this sort of other perspective of how I look at my debt. Like for a lot of people, that's actually a really great way to look at it, right? Because it is a part of your reality right now, and there's really not a ton you can do about it.
Yeah, I used to like panic over my debt, and now I'm just like, man, it's just another utility bill that I pay to be able to do what I do.
And you have your own business.
Yeah.
And you aren't allowing that to be the barrier for you to be able to build your business. Right. So it's sort of those things. Sometimes it's just shifting a mindset around really understanding like what is a barrier. There are people who have different risk tolerances too. For some people, having that debt, like they wouldn't be able to get over it to actually be able to go build that business and take that risk. So it's really just understanding, what makes sense for you, what barriers are actual like limitations that we need to work within, that maybe we can shift some mindsets around, maybe we can't, right? And what do we actually have to work with, and what can we do within the confines of what we do have? Because most of us, like we're creating some type of limitation around what's possible for ourselves. And we just need to sort of break that down. So it's not that there aren't some confines that we have to work within. It's just, okay, well, how do we do that? And then actually still sort of craft the dream that we want to go after.
And what is the most common barrier that women come to you with? Like, what do you see most frequently?
Fear.
So
it's actually usually not, money's there, but like for the most part, people, the money thing has a way of, you figure out a way to sort of deal with it yourself. Or there's lots of different, once you actually decide to, it's either you put it into a black box in the corner and you never look at it, and one day you have to look at it.
And then you have a panic attack.
Exactly. But at least you have that panic
or
attack.
a nervous system reaction.
Same difference.
Usually that panic attack leads you to dealing with it.
Yeah.
And then it's not as scary once you deal with it, right? Yeah. So really what I find in terms of what's blocking people is just fear. It's fear of the unknown. It's fear of giving up their lifestyle so that they don't necessarily think they can keep what they have in terms of flexibility or income or whatever if they were to go chase this dream. As humans, I'm sure it's like we're wired to want to maintain status quo. We don't naturally like change. Our bodies
our brain loves patterns. Yes.
Yep. Exactly. So that's really what I find is I'm helping people just break through that and sort of move past whatever fear is blocking them, fear of lots of different things.
So when, I find that adults are far more fearful than children, right? And I frequently make the joke that, the only reason I did what I did with my life is I was too young to understand what the hell I was doing when I started a business. Because I was 25 years old when I started my business and no clue what I was doing or getting myself into in the ramifications of like basically working for myself and figuring all of that out. What changes from childhood to adulthood such that these dreams become something fear-based instead of like aspirational-based?
God, it's such a good question. I think that as kids, a lot of these systems, they were designed for good. Right? College, university, like it was designed with good intentions. Like what you need to do to progress to the next stage of life, it's all designed with good intention. But so we follow it, right? And for a long time, like there's a lot of benefit to the system that is created, right? Not for everybody, obviously, but for a lot of people, for the majority, for mainstream, there's a lot of benefit that people get from it. So ultimately, we buy into the system because it works.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, we like the box. The box is comfortable. I don't have to make decisions for myself.
And it's what everybody else is doing.
It's what everybody else is doing. It's what my parents approve of, which is a huge one that I've 40-year-old adults who are still afraid of what their parents are going to think based on what the decisions that they're, So, but that's a real thing, right? It's like most people have someone whose approval we want, right? And at a certain point, we got to let that go, right? Because the only person's approval that we need if we're ever going to make decisions that are truly in alignment with who we are is ourselves. And so anyways, I think that's where it changes is, we have these dreams, and it's cute because, like, you don't actually have to take any risk to have dreams when you're a kid. But as an adult, you have to take risk. And when you have to take risk, what ultimately happens is other people's fear of your risk gets projected back onto you.
Yeah, and then internalized.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. That's I'm creating you, creating me, creating you, creating me, right? And so I never really thought about it that way, that societally we create the fear around going on one's own or really following a dream, that's really outrageous to me.
Flip it. What if it was you said, I want to start a business, and everyone around you
was
said,
like,
go
yes!
do it. So proud of
totally.
you, right? Everybody. Nobody projected their fear. What
Everybody
would that feel
told me
like?
not to start a business when I started a business, and because I don't listen to anybody and nobody can tell me what to do, I went ahead and started my business. But yeah.
You also built so much confidence, I would imagine, by breaking through. Like maybe you had fear, maybe you didn't, but you knew it was something you had to do. And you knew there was enough of your trust in yourself and in your personal intuition and your inner knowing to just do it.
Yeah.
And figure it out, right?
Yeah, so I think that a lot, because, of course I ask a question with an already always listening where I'm like, I bet she's going to answer this way. And so I'm like, it's a very good answer, but one of the things that I see also is like, is past-based experiences, right? And so as we live life and life slaps us down over and over.
You mean
and
it
over
lifes us?
again. It lifes us. We get lifed by life. We start to create more and more proof inside of ourselves that we are not capable of doing the things that we want to be doing. And I think that when you have past-based experiences that tell you you're a badass, you can do anything.
Well, I think it's a combination of both, really, because when you have people telling you, when your entire environment and everyone around you is telling you, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it, even if you're getting lifed and knocked down, it's harder to utilize that experience of failure as reinforcement for what your environment is telling you, because your environment is not telling you that. So if your environment is telling you, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this, and then life is happening and circumstances show up and you're failing left and right, you're like, oh shit, they were right. I can't do this.
And ultimately, anybody that starts a business is going to experience failure over and over and over again. And I want to hear a little bit about because you're the newest business owner on this panel, I think, right? Yeah. And so I want to hear about your experience of going it on your own and what that took for you.
Yeah. So I guess a little context for how I started my business, which I think will be helpful. So I was the head of sales and marketing for this venture-backed travel startup, which super cool company. They take people who work remotely on trips around the world for a year. So very disruptive, awesome. Right?
Nice.
This idea of we can
super disruptive,
right? Create the life that we want. We can travel and work and build these really big careers. And so it was really incredible to have that experience of building a business. I mean, we grew drastically from the years that I was there. But as happens with startups, we ultimately needed to raise another round of money, and it took a lot longer. So we felt, we had 2 rounds of layoffs. The first part I was on the, doing the laying off. On the second part, my whole team got laid off. So I believe layoffs are sort of a rite of passage in adulthood, it happens. And but I had already started to think about this idea of wanting to be my own boss. So think about dreams, right? I don't know how, I also sort of had the guts to just say I'm gonna follow my dreams and not let society's expectations or other people's fears block me. But even that job, how I even got that job was I had decided I want to work remotely from all over the world. And one thing led to another, and I ended up in this perfect dream job for me. And I got to literally build this incredible career and work from all over the world. So I'd already taken a really big risk at that time. I mean, even the transition there, I was I had quit my job when everybody thought I was nuts. I was living with a boyfriend at the time. We moved. I mean, I shifted my whole life for that job, and that was really scary. But I think what it did is it built my confidence that if I have a dream, I can go get it.
Yes.
So when I got laid off, and I was well, I got to figure out what's next. My next dream was I want to be my own boss. And I want to build something. And even if I fail, I don't care, because I want to just see what it feels like to build something that's my own.
Yeah. And arguably you've already experienced failure on on a pretty big level. I mean,
Right.
getting laid off from
Yeah.
a company that needs to be doing rounds of layoffs, you
Right.
know, is, I mean, it's
big.
an experience of failure for sure.
Yes.
You know.
The thing I think I've learned through all of this, though, about this concept of failure is like, I actually don't really believe in it.
Yeah.
It isn't, at least for me, something that I think exists. Like every mistake I've ever made has been a lesson.
Yeah.
Every door that's been shut has opened something new. Every time something devastating has happened, like it's pushed me to grow into whatever is next.
Yeah, you don't win or lose. You don't like succeed or fail. You win or you learn.
You just grow.
You just
You
grow.
always grow.
Yeah,
you
I
grow
see
if you
failure
win,
as
you
like-
grow if you make mistakes.
Yeah, I see failure as like you took an action and you did not get the expected outcome.
Yes, exactly. But why is that? Why is that failure, right? You took an action and you didn't get the expected result. If you were to look at that as just like problem solving, you'd be like, oh, that's not the solution to the question.
Let's try
that I
something
have.
else.
Either I need to ask a different question or I need to find a different answer.
Right.
So what do you say to people though? I'm gonna like whataboutism this, right? Like what do you say to people who say, yeah, but failure just doesn't mean like that I am now diminished in my own view of myself. It means that I can't feed my family. Like what do you say to those people?
So the thing about if you have external responsibilities, right? If you have a family to feed, if you have sort of like a sick parent, right? There's lots of moments in our lives when we do have responsibilities outside of just ourselves.
Yes.
That is a part of the decision making that you need to make, right? So if you get to that point and you're like, I can't feed my family, like, is that failure? No, it's a really shitty mistake that hopefully you're gonna learn from right now and never make again. And you're gonna make a change in your life, right? Because if to stay in that cycle of like, I'm a failure, and never feed your family, like that doesn't serve you, it's not useful, it doesn't help anything. It doesn't help your family,
Right.
it doesn't help them get food on the table. So I still don't think this idea of failure like is helpful at all, ever. Which instead, can you just say, I made a mistake, or for whatever happened, like
Or the expected outcome wasn't there.
The expected outcome wasn't there, and the lesson was one of the hardest, if not the hardest, of my life.
Well, and then once you move that failure aside and it's no longer I failed and now I can't feed my family, it's okay, that failure is moved aside, I can't feed my family. What now? And then there's an opening for action or an opening for community or an opening for resources
Right.
or, you know, but when that failure is in your face, there's nothing else you can see.
Right.
You can't see past it.
Right.
Yeah, it blocks your vision of everything.
Exactly. And it really just doesn't help you to get out of that. And I think the other thing too is if you do have external responsibilities, like you're making decisions on a different level. Like you do need to be thinking about what's my financial plan before I start my own business? Or does it make sense for me to start my own business? Because I do have people that I'm supporting and that rely on me to make money. And if that is one of the challenges that you're facing, if that was a client of mine, what I would do is I would really try to help them create a vision for a life that does all the things. It helps them actually love their career and find maybe it's just autonomy that they need or flexibility that they need, and they don't need to be their own boss. A lot of people sort of put the options into boxes.
Yeah.
And we break down all the boxes and we just figure out what do you actually want and need out of your career, and what are it feels good to be able to take care of the people that you love, right? So it's like that probably fits into what you want with whatever career we're building for you. So how do we put these pieces together in a way that actually works not just for you, but for what your responsibilities for your family or to your parents or whoever are.
Yeah.
What are, like, in starting your business, what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned in your business?
I think as a business owner, you learn a new lesson like every day, every week. Like there's like
True.
Yeah. Right? I learned a big one this week actually, which I can talk about. So I'm a coach, right? At the end of the day, like my job is to show up and create space for other people to be able to ask really good questions. Like I'm just a mirror. Really what I do is I just show people what they are having trouble seeing inside of themselves. That's what I do. But to be able to do that, like my energy needs to be on point, because sometimes being a mirror actually means I'm using my intuition to help them connect dots somewhere where they're unable to connect those dots. Or I need to ask the right question to like get really deep in there. Or I need to see the door for some of the thing that's going to lead us to like the skeletons in the closet that they're not like talking about, right?
Yeah, we call it co-regulation. You're a co-regulator in my field of work.
Awesome,
Yeah, so there's
awesome.
self-regulation and you're a co-regulator.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
But to be able to do that, like my energy really matters. Like I am so overachieving, prone to burnout, like love, like chasing dreams, obviously, right? But I will go until I'm like broken.
I don't work anymore.
And I'm like, okay. And I don't want to break myself now. Like I've already had a couple experiences of like serious burnout in my life. One of them led me to like the deepest depression I've ever been in. It was horrible. And I don't want that. Not only do I not want that for myself, but like I literally cannot do my job if I am burned out.
Yeah.
So I'm for the first time like fully booked with one-on-one clients right now.
Yay!
Which is
Congratulations.
amazing. Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
It's really
It's
exciting.
a really great place to be in.
It feels amazing. But I sort of immediately went to, great, like I figured that out, so like what's the next thing? And I launched a group coaching program. I was like, one-on-one's full, so what's next? Group. I literally launched it and then unlaunched it last week. I had multiple people considering it. I had somebody who'd already signed up for it. Like it was good, like it was built. I mean, like the payment page was set, it was launched. And I just I was like kind of like, I try to use my intuition a lot with my business. And I was trying to like feel into like what it was feeling like because I got this sense of it just heaviness.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is like not, and resistance. And I was like, this isn't what this is supposed to feel like. One of the lessons I learned sort of previously is it can all happen with ease. It can happen with flow. Structures and systems that you put in place like can allow you to really enjoy what you're building. And I knew that like there was, not that I wasn't excited to facilitate a group coaching program, but like this heaviness and resistance was telling me like you're just taking on too much.
Yeah.
Like you just have too much going on right now and like you're putting yourself on the path to burnout.
Yeah.
So I unlaunched it. And it was like
that's
a really
very,
big
and that's a
decision to
really
make.
brave thing to do.
Yeah, well,
to
no,
say like, you know
yeah.
what? Never mind.
Yeah.
I've
I'll do
definitely
this
learned
later.
in my career that like when I get to the goal point, sometimes it's okay to just like sit in the achievement of that goal for a little bit
Yes.
before creating the next goal.
Enjoying that goal.
Enjoy
Like
your
celebrating that
achievement
goal.
for a
Like,
little
what?
while. And before Kira launches into the next question, because you are rapid fire.
Well, I have a lot of questions about this.
I know, but
I'm trying to get her service for free right now.
Yeah,
okay.
right. And I do want to be responsible for time. It's 12:09.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we started 13 minutes late, and we will end 12
I
minutes
don't
late.
think that's how this is
I
supposed
also
to
want to
work.
acknowledge the people in our chat, because our
Yes.
chat is blowing up, and I am not actually reading any of these beforehand, so I apologize if any of these are not appropriate. I don't know
I'm sure
what
they're
anybody
appropriate.
what anybody. Oh, there's some talk about being a libertarian by Heimdall's Gate, and then consider that it also takes courage to build relationships. I'm dealing with the same stuff in my friendships, not nurturing them, and ultimately placing the burden of support on only the closest people.
Yeah.
And that's from Evolution of Manly. Oh, by the way, their show is on Monday nights at 8 p.m. You should definitely check them out. And let's see, anything else? This is where Eric Weinstein comes in. He has been talking about a system where we move money from older women to younger women with children when the burdens have swapped around. And then Evolution of Manually says, we'll be chatting about men's rights, activism, and feminism tomorrow night. And we'd love to hear more about MGTOW. Feel free to stop in and comment.
Cool.
So that should be
Sounds
a really
good.
interesting conversation about men's rights, activism, and feminism.
Interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we go, Emily, do you have anything you want to plug? Where can people find you if they want your services?
Yes. So I am still taking on one-on-one clients starting in April and May. So I'll have some spots opening back up. So if you are interested, I actually offer free 30-minute coaching sessions to just get to know me and learn a little bit about my work. So you can find me on my website, emilyelizamoyer.com, or on Instagram. I actually share a ton of, I hope it's valuable insight on how to really fall in love with your career, and sometimes how to help build your business. It's Emily Eliza Moyer on Instagram too.
Okay,
Awesome.
and we'll post those in the description so that everyone can reach you through that.
Great, thanks.
And Sammy, go ahead, and while we're plugging, because we do a horrible job of plugging ourselves,
yeah.
go ahead and plug your business, and I'll plug mine too.
Oh, okay, cool. So my business is Art of Balance. And you can find us at artofbalancechi.com. What we do is mental health, and we have a variety of specialties, a variety of therapeutic lenses that we work through, many diverse clinicians. And we also are in network with most major insurance companies, and we offer sliding scale and pro bono services to those who need it. So that is artofbalancechi, like Chicago.com.
And you can find me at comfyfitness.com. We just launched a new offering in October where we do live online group classes. And we do everything from like cardio, fitness, and strength building, all the way down to nervous system regulation through somatic movement and tremoring. And we do all of it through gift, through the gift economy, which means anybody who participates gets to pay whatever feels good to them, because we're hippies. All right, so
check back in with us next week, Sunday at 11 a.m.
who's our
Central.
guest next week? Do we know?
Yeah, we know, but I forget. So,
So get excited.
ask me next week.
All right, awesome. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on the chat, and we'll see you then.
We'll see you then.
Peace.
Bye.